I just love you guys, and I appreciate you being here for us, and I appreciate you doing the things that we are doing, and I appreciate you building this. Please like this episode, as well as every other episode you do enjoy going on right now that I'm very excited about. And I see Doge, and I see the realignment of the educational system coming together for a real unique opportunity that we haven't had in a long time. And that's exciting more and more each day. It all comes back to coming back to yourself, taking your you have three brains, right? You have the brain of the head, you have the brain of the heart, and you have the brain of the gut, gut instinct, right? I would love to really be able to get into some comfortable situations where we can start feeding back into the community that we haven't had in a long time. If we take the right approach, we have the ability to really dramatically affect not only the children growth, we could start turning revenues and rolling them into, for instance, here in this small town, seeing what kind of effects we have. We have coming up very shortly, as much as we should. And I think this is probably the strongest because it has emotion as well. And then those two signal to the brain to send out the chemicals that do the work that needs to be done according to whatever I have already talked a little bit about it with Emma on Emma Lynn and Grandpa Rod. Another beautiful day in paradise today. How y'all doing? This is Rod Duff. You know who I am, the host of Insights and Straight Talk. At least I hope you know who I am, because if you don't know who I am, then you're probably in the wrong spot. But stay here, like the episode if you like it. Please subscribe as we're making a push towards 10,000 subscribers by November, and very excited about that. We got a big jump already on here. We got 25 people coming in. How you guys doing? Please subscribe. I'm going to be saying that a lot more now because we're on this push. We're just a hair over 1,000 subscribers away from 10,000, and we've got some really exciting stuff going on. Just got word right before the show they might be on. There's some people that are very interested in what we're doing here on the program, and they're very interested in working towards working in collaboration with us. I have a gentleman maybe coming up from Dallas area. Well, I should say much west of Dallas, and we might be meeting here shortly. He's a very impressive man, and he's meeting with another podcaster that has a similar message, and we might be doing some things together. He's located somewhere here in Oklahoma as well. The Regeneration School project is really taking solid steps. I like to put it as a 1,000-mile journey. Months ago, we're just a step or two into that 1,000-mile journey, and now we're getting more like dozens of steps. We're getting much closer. We're certainly nowhere near there. So please continue to like and subscribe to the show, and like the episodes that you enjoy, especially the ones that you enjoy the most. And if you don't mind, like them all. The community is growing tremendously. We used to average about 100 people in the audience per show. I think we're averaging somewhere around 500. We've got several shows that are over 7,000 or right at 7,000 in an audience on a single show, which is very exciting. Sharifah, who I'll introduce to you here in a minute, or reintroduce. I was on her show, what was it, about a week or a little over a week ago, a week and a half. During the podcast, you can support my page by sending stars and digital gifts. Hey, how can you do that? Oh, maybe because you're streaming too. I bet you that's how. Because usually guests can't comment in the comment section. So that's interesting. We'll talk about that in a second. That's Sharifah. She is Sharifah Hardie. She's from Read Me Live. She did a live tarot card reading for me the last time I was on the show. We did about 30 minutes of conversation, kind of getting to know each other a little bit more, her getting my vibe or the vibe of me, so to speak. And she's the expert, so she can correct all the things that need correction here. But let me go ahead and just have her make this show a little bit more professional. And let me introduce you to Sharifah Hardie. How you doing today, Sharifah?
I'm excited. Didn't mean to scare you with my comments. It sent you, yes, I'm over here doing things.
Oh, you're doing it off of Facebook. Okay, so off of your stream, you commented on your stream, which showed up on this. That's how you did that, right?
Yes.
I learned something new every day. I love this show, man. I learned stuff. Look at my hat.
I love it. I need a Sharifah hat.
Yeah. That's do you remember The Simpsons? You ever watched the cartoon The Simpsons?
Yes.
That's Duff beer. I picked that up. I've got a Duff beer can and a Duff hat, and I've got some Duff shoes, but those are different. Those are skateboarders. I don't know if you ever got into that. I'm from California originally, but
I got into watching it, not actually doing it.
All right. So the shoes, there's a very famous brand in that sport called Duff shoes, and I wore those for a long time. That was a lot of fun. Never thought my name would be so famous, but it is. So not because of me, but for other reasons. So I steal the merch when I can. And this one says it's Duff time. So we have 111 people on. Let's see if we can match on your show. I think we got up into the 600-700, something like that.
Right.
I know at one point you said there was 666 people on. That's stuck in my head.
Oh no, I saw that, but I was trying not to say that because I didn't want to scare the people, because it went from 333 and then it doubled to 666, and I was like, over 600.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That was all you. That was all you, right?
We've got a lot. That's funny. As you said that, well, it just jumped. But while you were saying that, the number was at 1, 2, 3. So there's all these little number games that are going on with our audience here. It's now at 135. So, and rising. So the people, the folks that I comment on this all the time because it blows my mind. I mean, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy doing this show. I enjoy the mission of this show. I'll get back to some exciting things that are coming up, and I'll do that a little bit later. I do want to shout out to the Mangum City Library, who really believes in our mission, especially the Regeneration School Project, and Voices at the Table, which is part of that, and that's giving teens and a new educational platform, which is another reason I moved to Oklahoma, because they're very progressive, so to speak. I don't know if that's the right word in today's world, but they're very aggressive in making sure that the school system, when there's something that's out there that's a benefit, they've always been very progressive about adapting those programs when they work well. So why don't you shout your own stuff out here for a second? The Mangum Library is really important to us. As you see, they've set up a beautiful setup here where the pianos are behind me. By the way, this chair right here represents, let's call it the unknown child yet, because at some point we're going to be up on that stage. And as soon as we start having people come in, so we have audience members, as you know, like right now we have 271 audience members here with us listening to our back and forth, our banter, but then we're getting to a point when we get ready. I'd say it's probably less than a month away where we're really going to start pulling kids into the library with their families. Of course, we're going to be up on stage. Myself, Emma, Simon's another gentleman that's involved in this. That they'll be like you and I are right now. Then we'll have our audience with the comments, questions being asked, and then we'll have which hand is it? I don't remember if I'm mirrored or not. This chair will have the. Let me see if I can. You can see it even better there. See if we can have people coming in, and they'll sit down and they'll ask questions to Emma along with the audience members, and then I'm talking to some radio stations to simulcast over live radio as well. So all those things are in the works, and then we have some potential people who are going to collaborate and invest or cooperate with the show. And that should take us to another level. And I'm really excited at the spot that we are in because of the momentum that we're going. Tell us about Read Me Live, because it was fascinating to me. And I told you, I reached out to producer Barbie. I haven't heard from her in a couple of days. I'm a little concerned about that. But okay. We got a bunch of questions coming in. But, she's somebody that would really fit well within a panel here, because as well as Ronalda, who was on the show last time, in the audience. And so tell us about Read Me Live and some of the things that you're doing, because your approach, like I said, during your show, especially at the end and closing out, I commented that your approach is an awesome, it's an awesome platform that's very, very interesting and slightly different. So it keeps people pulled into what you're doing, and it's all about personal introspection, building from the inside out, as well as business. You work with business leaders to help them lead in a better way. Tell us about your mission. Let's spend some time. Let me get your vibe this time.
Thank you for getting my vibe. I appreciate it. But before we get to me and my vibe, let's go back to you, and kudos to you. Kudos to the library and everything that you're doing. I'm so proud of you, and it's an honor to meet you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Readmelive.com is my current passion, and the people who know me well know that I'm always all over the place. I'm always doing something, one thing or another. And I built my first website in the 90s. I started marketing early 2000s and started being a business consultant. Launched my first podcast in 2009. And so I've done thousands of interviews with business owners, celebrities, entrepreneurs, artists, whoever you can name. Then I went into politics. I ran for Long Beach City Council. I ran for state senate in California, and I was on my path to run for governor of California. And then I felt the energy of politics was dark, and it was not something that I wanted to do. And I wanted to make a change in a different way. And I've been an ordained minister for some time. I'm a third generation reader.
I did not know that. I did not know you were. I knew you were a third generation reader. I did not know you were an ordained minister.
Yes.
Why did you? Let's have her there for a second, then we'll go on. Why? How did that come to be?
I was raised Muslim, and then I went more into the spiritual.
Interesting.
But if you look at, some people will say from the Bible. I always say scripture says. So scripture for me, it can be the Bible, it can be the Quran, it could be the Talmud, it can be so many different platforms, right? But it's the word of God. So even when I do readings, it's about the word of God and bringing that message, so I love what you were saying. And when I pray that everyone who's tuned in and watching this show goes, and I hope you are able, or maybe later put it in the comments when you were on my show, because what came through for me in during your show was that you are going to be a very, very wealthy man. And for me, I see that in how you speak, how you come across, and you understand without having a deck of cards in front of you, signs and symbols. You just did it in your example, which was so profound to me. You said the chair represents, and that's all cards are. It's just representing a message that's coming through. So the chair represents where you're going to be in the future. And so because I felt the energy of where is it not? You said in about a month, this is going to happen. So it's the same thing. You just didn't have a deck of cards in front of you. because it comes down
I like
to
that.
he who fails to plan plans to fail, right? So in your
100%.
vision, you put it together. You put the chair where you want it to be, where the people, this is going to be there and that's going to be there. That's all it is, right? So because I'm a third generation reader, I wanted a way to be able to bring that message to the masses. So in April, it came to me, this website, readmelive.com. Because 20 years ago, my mother told me, she said, you're really good. You should do readings for people. And, at 29 years old, 20 something years old, maybe 30 years ago, I said, there's no way in the world I'm going to go out there and be like, oh, I'm a psychic, I'm a reader, so that people can stone me or laugh at me. That's how you got to move your head, right? You got to be like, right? So
Love it.
30 years later, that's all I want to do, but I want to teach. So that's why I do my readings live, which is rare, because I even have friends who I'm like, can I do a live reading for you? They're like, no, you could do a reading, but you can't do it live. And I said, well, if I can't do it live, I'm not doing a reading, because it's about teaching, not only the cards, but we all learn together. I've had people on my show and they teach me different meanings of the cards.
So that's fascinating. And let's stay on the Quran and that, because the religion aspect of what you're talking about is so dead on and so in line with what we talk about on this show. Mm-hmm. I was just talking to this gentleman. I made him a 10-minute version of this yesterday, late night. A gentleman said, hey, these numbers, blah, 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 blah. Now, what about what does it look like? So I just really quickly, I just popped on my headset and I did 10 minutes just out like that. And I love doing that. So, and then I'm like, do you want more? Do you want more? Because I love doing this stuff so much. But in the show, we talk a lot about religion because, and we've had each religion on talking about that, because in my opinion, and I think it sounds like you align with that as well. By the way, ordained minister, Christian or another religion?
They're all God.
Okay, yes. Okay. So I was just asking that for a side point. My point is that if you read each, and I've been a part of, in some aspect, each of the religions. I've been fascinated by religion since I was a kid. I first got baptized when I was 6. I went up because we're in a tent revival. You know, the Southern Baptists?
Yes.
You ever been to one of those?
Yes.
Woo, man, that'll pull you all over the place.
The spirit moves you.
It does. It moves you big. And people are active and alive. And, you know, in other churches, you're very ordained and settled. And but back to, there's all this conflict going on now, and it's sad. But if you read each, and it's always confused me how all every one of them, and the stories, the Quran, the Bible, you know, the all the different, I don't know all the names off the top of my head, but the story, if you read through them, the stories actually intersect. I mean, there's floods and there's descriptions of what happened in the Bible in each of the others, but yet millions of people are killed over the years over religion. Most wars, I believe, if you look back, have a basis in religion. I mean, look at the Protestants and the Christians during the Irish days back. I mean, just incredible things, and I've never understood that. But someday we'll have to get into that more. I wanted to hover on that for a second, because I think that's more and more being able to be talked about. We have a moment in time which is very, it could be dangerous, because, as you know, the Muslims and the Christians are really, they're starting to become that conflict again that goes back 3,000 years, right?
Yes.
Look at the 300, the movie, the 300. I mean, go back, and it's just been around forever, and it's a shame, and and I don't understand it. Why, you know, God is real, religion is man. It's made up. You know, it's made up by man. That I'm not judging. I'm just saying that the religions seem to reflect what the earlier people who created that religion wanted to use to control their people. I mean, you go back to the Pope. I mean, the Pope was probably one of the earlier popes. They were one of the most power hungry, dangerous people in the world, right?
I'm like, that's all beautiful. That's wonderful. Is there a question in there, Rod? No, I love it.
No question. By the way, we're at 5:59. We're sneaking up to you, but we're slowing down here. I hope we can.
No, we're not. Stop watching the numbers. Focus on me. That's all.
I watch.
They're gonna go up. They about to go up. They about to blow up. Right, they going up because when we were at the 1 hour mark, that's when we hit over 600. So I know if the two of us, the energy we're generating would have stayed on an hour or two, it would have been thousands of people who were tuning into the show. And so I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. All of that is man. This is my belief. The world, and I tell people all the time, I don't have a degree in anything. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a license in this. It's just my belief, just from speaking to people over the years, going through experience, right? But if two people, let's say a man and a woman, who had no idea, they've never read any book, any scripture, but they were on a deserted island, something in them would tell them, if you go to the water and you get a pole and you make a little string and you put it in the water, you can eat. Something in them is going to tell them, if you you get something, you create a hammer or whatever it is. Y'all can see I don't do too much actual building for my example, but you'll make a house because something in you tells you that you need shelter. You're tired. Something in you tells you you need rest. You're hungry. Again, it's in you. And to me, that is the only way that I can describe the essence of who God is. Everything else to me is people's experiences, people telling what they have experienced.
Great way to put that. Oh my God, that is a great way to put that. Do you want to hit a couple of questions here? We've got like a dozen of them here already.
If they're asking me, I'm more than happy to answer them. If you want to
let's look what Gerard says here. How can we all start rebuilding the middle class from where we are? So, I mean, you and I obviously, our whole discussion, the words I use are great middle class a lot. So
yeah,
I can imagine where Gerard's coming from here. But you have the same mission. You have a different approach, which again is just I really enjoy.
Thank you.
But what? How do you think? What's your opinion, or how would you answer Gerard's question here?
Well, this is the way that I look at it. When I take a look at what's going on in society, I look at the haves and the have-nots. That's basically where we are. I don't look at the political parties, what side, red side, blue side. To me, it's the have and the have-nots. And that divide is growing. So that eliminates the middle class. I was laid off 8 times. Back in my day, when I was a wee lass, there was always work for the people. Right? You would always be able to create jobs. Small businesses are closing. So in order to, I really believe that we need to create more manufacturing plants, more jobs, more ways for people to work. Without that, then you have no middle class.
Did you hear Whirlpool just announced they're building the largest plant in the world in Ohio? They just announced it. Because of the tariffs, whatever side you're on, yes. Because of the tariffs, they did the analysis and they moved, and they now are, they have a huge plant. They used to be a customer of mine when I was in my machinery business in Mexico, down in Monterrey. They're moving all that back, and I'm sure they have plants in other locations. But the financial sense just makes sense for them, and I think it's going to be 6,000 employees. They're going to need something like that. 6,000 new jobs in Ohio. So there you go. I mean, that hopefully is starting to turn. And you're right. It is about the haves and the have-nots. And the great middle class is the most ignored and forgotten group of people, while they're also the most powerful group of people. When they're the giant, when they become the giant is when we all come together and we do this kind of stuff, different subjects, different matters, but we do this kind of stuff, and it affects the way that, and like it or not, politics is in our life no matter what. We can't do things without our leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we elect them to go into office to do the things that are bidding for us. And if we don't have control of that, and I agree with you, I don't care red or white. I'm an independent.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie Sanders is an independent too. So what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
What I mean is I vote for people. Most politics, and I think you said that in our last show together, most politics is local.
Yes.
We're doing a lot of politics here right now, but I'm sure we'll be getting into other things. And I agree with you. What you said about Gerard is that we have to have those opportunities become more and more. We need small business. I mentioned Whirlpool, not a small business, but we need small businesses for not only job creation, but also innovation. Because what is small business? Small business is somebody who says, hey, I can do that better. I know I can do that better. So I'm going to go out and try and do that better, meaning they're innovating from whatever it is that their experience is coming from. So that creates jobs. And then there's emotion and power behind that. And then there's innovation that comes out of that because they're competing now. That's a beautiful part of our system, right?
Yes, but I just want to say one thing to what you said, Rod. Yes, politics, we definitely have politics, but we also have leaders. And you're a leader. You're somebody. That's why, you did not just get to 10,000 subscribers by happenstance, by luck, by
within a year, within 1 year.
Right. So that means that the people, those 10,000 people, have chosen you as their leader. They've chosen you as their voice. They've chosen you as the person that's to come to when we want to talk about what's going on in Middle America. What's going on? Let's tune in to Rod to see what he has to say. So every leader is not a politician.
That's true. No doubt about it. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Great point, and thank you for that. Let's pivot a touch here. It looks like we're going to pivot quite a bit. And by the way, every once in a while I'll jump on and off so I can read ahead and try and keep them as organized as possible. But
okay.
Richard here, yeah. I usually
There's a pie. I'm just teasing. I like to tease, Rod.
Absolutely. So Richard says, do you think spiritual growth really fuels economic change? It's an interesting twist here, isn't it? I like this question.
It's a very insightful question, right? And for Richard to even ask, it's very insightful. But absolutely, it has to, right? Because what is spirituality? I'm very big on semantics and words. What does that mean, right? So if you're a spiritual person, then you have a love for yourself. You have a love for God, but you also have a love for your neighbor. And see, that's the part that we're forgetting. If we really care about our neighbors, if we really care about other people, then there's no way in the world that we could sit by and allow them not to be able to eat, allow other people not to be able to house, because there's more than enough to go around. There's more than enough to go around. It's not that there isn't wealth. It's just that the wealth isn't evenly distributed. So yes, you have to have spiritual growth to be able to have compassion. And compassion is one of the highest forms of love in order for everything to change.
Yeah, boy, you brought in a point there that I hadn't even really considered. And like I say, I learn something new every day on the show. Now it's two things, and the show hasn't even really got going.
We're just getting started.
We're rolling here. I agree. That's a great point. Spirituality is from the inside out, obviously, staying with the theme, and with that, the facts of what you're saying is you can't go if having that. It affects you in a different way. Being spiritual affects you in a different way, you're something bigger than yourself, right?
Right.
I've had my issues with mental disorder, some issues in the past. Well, still issues. I always have issues. I am an issue as a basic rule, but and along with that, some addictions and so forth, and AA. So they talk about exactly what you talk about, because people don't want to necessarily accept this or this or this or this, but you have to, in that program, have something bigger than yourself to turn to. And that's what brings the compassion from inside out. And so they talk about you need a higher power than yourself. And so just call it spirituality, whatever that means for you. And that's the approach that I think so many people have, that both sides, that different sides, especially more fanatical sides, really try to turn into something different than it is. It's actually a good thing, because I think it's more evolved than the radicals of whatever group want you to believe. That's the difference right there.
Right. But I mean, if you're truly a spiritual person, then you should want for your brother what you want for yourself. Right. So if you want to be housed, would you not want your brother to be housed? I mean, and if you look at it as we're all children of God, right? So if we're all his children, how is it that some of his children have 15 houses and then some of the children have none? The wealth is not equally distributed. That's what it comes down to. And what kind of people allow that?
I think you can even take that to another level. And now let's tie back in our politicians with that, because in that aspect, I mean, our government spends our money, $16.7 trillion a year. And part of that is we have Congress people and senators and different officials that are making, earning $140,000 a year, and they may be coming in at into office, now elected, with a negative worth of $30,000. In other words, they come in debt. Right. And a few years later, they're worth $420 million.
Right.
So evenly distributed, you're talking about on the private side there, I'm assuming. And there's definitely a lot of discussions and arguments about that. But I take it even one step further back and say, let's get a handle on our politicians for multiple reasons. One, now they're fighting for us individually. Two, the greed that exists and the corruption that exists and the waste that exists can go away. Now wealth can actually be distributed back. And I'm not talking about like the tariffs. There's, I think, $2,000 are coming back to each and every American citizen paying taxes are coming back. So that's one thing. But imagine if we cut out $8 trillion from our spending and from waste, not eliminating stuff, just fixing stuff. That's trillions of dollars. And I don't know of any person, maybe one person, but I don't know of any one person worth trillions of dollars. But our government is, because of us. We should not be having to pay all that we are, and yet we still let it go on because we're too lazy to get involved. So I just wanted to kind of wrap that together with what you're saying. Did you have another comment on that?
You saw it coming, Ron. I agree with you, right? And so I got to kind of balance my words as far as what I'm saying. But this is what it comes down to. And one of the things that I saw being a politician, being in that pool, when you talk about politicians who come in $30,000 in the negative and then wind up earning millions of dollars, it's because the biggest business there is earning millions, receiving. Can we say receiving?
Or yes, we can say receiving. I'll go with receiving. I don't know if it's earning, but
receiving. Okay.
Receiving, good word.
We have received that word into our conversation. One of the biggest businesses there is war, right? So they're pushing these different agendas because war is very profitable for them.
Mhm.
Now, if you have politicians who are $30,000 in the negative and they're in debt and they come into this arena, it's not impossible for them to say no to that $1 million check when they get that call that says, we want you to push this through in order for us to go to war or in order for us to do what we want to do. That's how they keep receiving the millions and millions and millions of dollars, because now they're a part of the system. They're part of the agenda. So for instance, it's not only war, but here in California, one of the biggest issues that we have are our prison systems. We build a lot of prisons here. Backwoods, people don't necessarily see it because they want to keep it outside of view of the everyday American. You're not going to feel good that at the end of your block is a prison with prisoners in it. However, you have the school to prison pipeline, where why would we create jobs? Why would we build manufacturing plants when instead of paying them $20 an hour, we can pay them pennies to do the same labor? To me, when you talk about spirituality, it's a shame and disgrace that the majority of our products and commodities are created in the prison system. When you look at your major companies and corporations, products made in prison.
Is it a major amount? I mean, I know they make license plates in California.
Right. I think no, major products, major corporations. Their products are made by prisoners.
So how do they do that?
What do you mean? How do they do that?
Because you got to have all the machines. So are the prisoners all being shipped to a factory?
No, the factory is at the prison.
At the prison.
Yes. So now
I know prisons, but I've never heard.
Okay.
The word made. I understand that things are being made in prisons
more than license plates.
Well, and I would guess absolutely that'd be more than license plate. I just know that they've been making license plates. California has been making license plates in the prison, for as long as I've been alive, I think.
Right.
And the other ones I wasn't familiar with, but or I'm not familiar with other ones, I should say. But I would imagine those would be kind of like localized things that are going on. So you're saying that, like, say I just use Whirlpool. They're opening a plant, I think it's several million square feet. Mm-hmm. How would you make a washing machine in a prison? I mean, are you talking about just parts of it? Like, because I'm from manufacturing, and there's a lot involved in involved in manufacturing from reach. I mean, my mom had they've closed it after she died, but she had a small music store, and that music store had $5 million just in inventory for the products that she'd sell. That's a very small example, but I mean, you're talking about an infrastructure. You can't just place something in and start making something, blow molding machine, dryer systems, water system. You're talking about plants I think a very small plant's got to be 100,000 square feet. So you're saying that in each prison system, there's different companies that are building products using correctional labor for pennies on the dollar?
Correct.
Wow, that's quite an investment into this. So the building
wait, Rod. I don't even know why this is so. I don't want to use the word unbelievable, but that's kind of how it feels, because when you have private prisons, those prisons, the stock for those prisons is traded on the stock market. So if you want to increase your share price, you have to have more prisoners. So what do the prisoners do? They create products. prisoners do more than I believe the average, and I'm finding from you, Rod, the average person would imagine.
I'd say probably 90% of
And
people
that's
would
intentional.
imagine.
That is intentional. Even with private prisons, most people are shocked that private prisons never existed in America prior to 1984.
Yeah, no, that's I believe that.
Right.
That makes sense. Except they were actually started well before that. Back in the colonial days, there were privateers that had, you know, systems that they would hold captured people or people that were the scourge of the society. There have been private, maybe not the same type of system, but I know private prisons have been around for a long time, and I think they're only in certain states, or are they in every state?
I'm not sure if they're
only
in every state. But what you're talking about is, I'm talking about prisons that are traded, publicly traded companies. That's what I'm referring to. This new generation, this new life is publicly traded companies that make billions of dollars off of the labor of other people.
Well, yeah, they're privately held. Yeah, I mean, there's only they have to get revenue. You've got to keep the lights on. I get that.
Right.
Publicly traded. I wasn't aware of that, but it makes sense because there's a lot of investment, a lot of revenue that's required for that.
Okay, but citizens pay their taxes in order to cover these things. So I think we're going in.
What's the benefit? Why would a government have privates? Do you know a lot about the private? We're going off a little bit here, obviously.
We are,
no, but it's a curious. I'm a curious person.
I can see.
You're
That's
bringing
why
up
you're
something.
A very wealthy man.
Thank you. You're bringing up a subject that's completely, well, the subject's not foreign to me, but the information we're talking about is new to me. And so that's why I'm just kind of, I like to use the word hovering here for a minute. We do need to go on too, because there's all sorts of questions about entrepreneurs and everything else. Yeah, that's just such a curiosity that if they're private and they're still collecting taxes from us, the general population. I shouldn't use that along with prisons. Us, the citizens.
We're in general population.
We are a general population. How does that financially make sense for the state? I know California's. That's special. The only state I know, and New York, they're special. Is that what it's
No, I was being sarcastic. It's like,
yeah, very special. Yeah, I'd say California is a little special right now. Especially the leaders. Sorry, but the leadership is at least under the gun right now.
Okay.
So, well, I mean, the fires didn't help, and all the.
Do you know who most firemen are? Who put out the wildfires in California? Prisoners.
Yeah, I know that prisoners are used for that too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, I get that, and that makes sense.
They can't get jobs when they get out as firefighters.
They can or cannot.
Cannot. So they're creating different programs to be able to allow these men who have fought these fires previously to be able to go into the workforce once they are released and work as firemen.
That's a good program. You said they can't do it now, but they're working on a program for that.
Correct. Are you having trouble hearing me? Am I low?
No, not at all. No, you're. I'm just rewording, sending the words back to you. I get a little tongue tied there. Okay. So let's get out of this subject. Sounds like it's a little defensive. Okay. Let's go back to here on how can young entrepreneurs join the movement, meaning join the movement of rebuilding the great middle class.
I would say,
can you answer that?
Absolutely. I would say join the movement by creating the movement, create the company, become an entrepreneur. And one of the things, I I'm actually getting ready to release another book, and this will be my 5th book. My first
Congrats.
Thank you. My first book was And Here's Your Box, From Laid Off to Loving Life. And it talked about my journey being laid off 8 times. But after interviewing thousands of business owners, thousands of entrepreneurs, the one thing that I see in entrepreneurs is it is literally a calling. It is what they are called to do. So even if you didn't want to do it, you can't really stop. Entrepreneurs always go to work, stop, go to work, go back, and then at some point that's they find their rhythm. But it's what you're meant to do. So I always tell people who are interested in becoming an entrepreneur, because I really think that is the question that's being asked, is what is it that you are called to do? What is it that you feel that you are meant to do? What is it that you love to do? If you have a passion for something, then turn that into a career. That's what we need. More jobs, more small businesses. Small businesses are the heart of America.
I mistimed that one. Sorry about that. I try to get back quicker. Brandon Turner here. How do you propose? How does, I think is what he's trying to say, how does purpose and profit truly align? And this fits right into what we're talking about here. So you have purpose, but you still need profit. Profit isn't evil. It's why it's what keeps the mission that you're on going, because you have to reinvest and so then invest in people. So how does purpose and profit align in today's world for you?
For me, and I love that question. It's an excellent question. Thank you.
It is a great question, Brandon.
Yes. I think it's very it's a wide-ranging question. It answers so many different belief systems, but at the heart of it, I think it comes down to your belief system. And when I work with business owners that have for-profit companies, their mindset typically is different from someone who has a business owner who has a nonprofit organization. Many nonprofit owners come from the business world, and they have that taste in their mouth, like they don't want to be a part of corporate America. They don't want to be a part of the corporate greed. They don't want to be a part of the dog eat dog mentality. And so what happens is they become off balance, imbalance, and they push all of the profits away. And they believe that they're being of service, right? Or they have that mentality that, oh, I have to be a starving artist. Like starving artist. I don't know if you have the company there, but here in California, we have a moving company that's called Starving Movers. It's a moving
and starving students, and it's actually a very big company. I know the company. I've seen the trucks.
Yes.
All over. I'm from California, so yeah, I don't think they have it out here. Maybe not.
Right. But the starving part is a mentality. It's a choice. I believe that God says, it is my pleasure to give you the kingdom. It is my pleasure to give you the kingdom. So I always say, if you show me someone who is starving, I will show you someone who is not using their talent. Because your talents, God gave every one of us at least one talent. So your talents are made or given to you so you can survive on this earth. But we often forget that survival includes being able to pay the mortgage, being able to get transportation, being able to feed our children. We just like, oh, I'll be a starving student. And you're like, okay, but you're 70. How long do you hold on to this idea that you're a starving student? At some point, our mentality has to graduate to the point where we say, you know what? I need to honor my work and value my work. And so when people pay you and you receive profits, that's honoring your gifts.
Yeah, and that's, as you said, plainly spoken by God, and plainly out there for consumption in the Bible and others, I'm assuming. But no doubt that's a for real thing, and it's interesting. I like like I've said before, I love your approach, but I'm learning more about it and hearing more about it, because of what you're saying now today, in that how you're looking at things like this, where comparing the starving student, that mentality, and the nonprofit versus profit set up corporations or LLCs, whatever you want to call them. That's fascinating.
Thank you.
I think Joe's going to keep you going on this a little bit here. What does real transformation look like for working families?
Being able to live our lives, right? When I'm 49, when I was in school, there was this, okay, here's no, but even then, there was people grew up with, here's the American dream. The American dream was basically the same. You went to school, got your education, got your job, got your house, white picket fence, and a dog, right? So now we have to be able to bring ease. And that's what scripture says. That's what the Quran says. After difficulty comes ease. After ease comes difficulty. And we have been in difficulty for so long that so many people don't believe that we'll get to a point where there is ease. Now, to purchase any meal, and again, I can only speak for California, but to purchase a single meal, if you were to order it, it's a minimum of $25 per person. So if you have multiple children, if you're a family of 4, the cost for people to be able to afford their food, be able to afford housing, and then people believe that it's a coincidence that mental health issues have increased, right? They want you to go and talk to someone, but unless that person can help me be able to handle this mortgage, then I don't know what we're talking about, right? Because you have to be able to take off some of the pressures that people are dealing with in order for them to be able to cope. If not, it's going to come out in mental health issues. It's going to come out in drug abuse. It's going to come out in domestic violence. It has nowhere to go because the fear and the frustration is there. And then I can tell you, most fathers, the last thing they're going to do is allow their family to starve, right? So then they're like, okay, I might have to do, they call it something a little strange for a piece of change. Right. So now you're filling up these prison systems because I'm telling you, it all goes back to the prison systems because that's where the money is. Prison and war. There are other areas. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying we have to be able to. When I was 16 years old, my father's friend received the contract to build the irrigation system when they built the 105 freeway in California, right? I'm 16. My dad's friend told my dad, I need an office manager. I need somebody to be able to help me in the office, do the billing, pay the guys, collect the timesheets. My dad back then volunteered me. He was like, my daughter Sharifah could do it. And it just so happened. And I always say, whenever it just so happened, that's God. You got to do the head movement. Okay. But that's God. Right.
I'm getting pretty good at that.
You are. Say that's a Sharifah move. You're going to be able to tell the people, I had her on my show, but that's God. And it was the summer break. So at 16, I was the office manager for the company that built the irrigation system, meaning all of the plants, all the grass, they irrigated all of that along the entire 105 freeway. I was making $16 an hour. So now when you fast forward to 2025 and people are making around $18, $20 an hour, their house or their apartment, if they want to get an apartment, that apartment is going to be at least here, for one bedroom, $1,700 to $2,000 a month. They haven't eaten. They don't have any transportation. So you have to be able to create ways, which is jobs. And when I was campaigning, people always say the same thing to me. They say, Sharifah, you always bring it back to jobs. To me, it comes down to jobs because I always tell people this one thing. When I love you all the way to the bank because that's the only place that matters to me. Now, spirituality, synagogues, I get all of that. But how do you feed your children? How do you feed your grandchildren? How do you eat? It has to show up. When we talk about profits, that's what profits are. Profits are what you have after what you receive minus your expenses are your profits. So if people don't have anything left, how are we going to live?
You know, we've been talking a lot about religion and work and profits and food and feeding your family. Just thought popped in my head. It's interesting how whenever you go into a religious ceremony, at least most of them, you break bread. You know, this is my flesh. You drink wine or now grape juice. This is my blood. But and then there's been different sermons or stories of, you know, like give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll live for a lifetime. That's what you're talking about there. These correlations between religion and what keeps the family, the rebuilding of society. It breaks down to the family.
Yes.
Like you said, a man will never allow his family to go without every bit of his soul. And then you're tying in mental illness in with this same thing, which, by the way, is that 70% of all human beings now,
right?
You know, children and adults. And I'm sure that what's happening in the family also has an effect on the children,
right?
You know, so that whole thing just continues to diverse itself and spread itself out, tracking down society. So that's a perfect answer to Jeffrey's question. I'll read it again just to refresh. Do you think healing families is the key to rebuilding society? And yes, and it breaks down right to where you're talking about now. The family's got to be without stress, though.
Yes, because stress is at the root of all illness. It's stress. The body is stressed out, whether it's a physical illness, a mental illness. The body is sending you signs that it's under so much pressure that it cannot handle it. Right. That's why it's called dis-ease. The body is not at ease. So often what we do, especially in America, is we give someone a pill. Pop this pill, take this pill. If you have this pill, you'll feel better. And all that does is just mask the actual cause or the root issue of what we're going through. But what happens, and this is why I'm so happy, and I believe it's a beautiful time to be alive, is that we're currently at a place where we have decided that we want to heal. That's why I don't care what anybody says. Like you should see me on 4th of July. I play my Lee Greenwood, Proud to be American loud. Like that's my jam. That's my song. I am proud to be an American. So you can say whatever you want about America. You can say whatever you want about the history of America, but try going somewhere else. Right. One of the beautiful things about being in America is that you could be born poor and die rich. You could be born rich and die poor. Everything that's in that dash, everything that's in the middle is really up to you. And so that's one of the things that we say. We say power to the people. Everything is we, the people. That's who has the power. Even with politicians, when the people have said enough, they've had enough. Then things change. So if we want to heal, we have to make a collective decision that we are going to heal. And I believe that we are healing. One of the things that I absolutely love, and I believe there's a blessing in every curse. I believe that with my whole spirit. But they said that during COVID, during a global pandemic, more families sat down at the dinner table and ate dinner together for the first time since the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
We are healing. We are healing as a people.
You know, and I think the next step that's coming, just to add to that, the next step that's coming is people are starting to put their phones down at the dinner table.
Yes.
And now they're having more conversations. And that's actually becoming a thing now.
Yes.
I mean, that hasn't been a thing for 10 years.
Yes.
Really. I mean, there's a whole, I'd say my children's children all have grown up, or somewhere in that range, maybe the middle group in between my children's children. But that whole group basically just, I mean, I give an example. I've raised 5 boys. One of them, the youngest, he's now in the military. He's at Leavenworth. He's a military policeman. Anyway, he's he's getting married, going to have or he is married, going to have a child. But when he was in high school, I remember being in the kitchen cooking something for the group and that. And there were 5 of his friends. He and 5 of his friends. The baseball game was going on. He's a big baseball player. Baseball game was going on, and they're all sitting there, and they're all on their phones. You know, they're all doing this, not looking up every once in a while, something looking at the TV. And I'm watching this from my left. I'm looking over here, and finally I said, "Hey, Matt, you know, you guys are all friends. Why don't you talk to each other instead of texting whoever you're texting and all that?" And 2 of the other ones said, we're talking to each other. They're doing it on the phones. I'm like, okay, well, I had nowhere to go with that. So I just shut up and said, oh, okay. But that's the whole life, you know. Now that's starting to bear down. Was that something on your side, I think?
It's just a notification. Sorry.
Gotcha. No worries. So Juliana here, how do you see middle class evolving in the next 5 years? And you started to talk about the healing, but it's going to be more than that, because you mix in the thought about AI in this too.
Right.
You know, the world, I always say the Jetsons are coming. The Jetsons are here.
I was about to say the same thing. The Jetsons are here. The Jetsons have been here. But I believe the AI is a part of the evolution. And I am not, first of all, I've never been a fear monger, someone who believes that the world is going to hell in a handbasket. I believe that technology is being used so that we have the opportunity to spend with our families. And that goes back to what I was saying about during COVID, during a global pandemic, more people spent time together, because we didn't, you know, we all remember what it was like prior to COVID. You had a job for most people. And I'm being clear that I'm generalizing here, but most people had a job. Right. So even if they had an 8-hour job, most people, senior people, they spend about 10 hours, 9 hours at the job. Then if you have a commute each way, right, by the time you get home, all you want to do is eat and go to sleep. Right. When I started and built my website in the 90s, all I wanted to do was be a stay-at-home mom. That was my goal. And people told me, they said, Sharifah, you are lazy. I built a website. People didn't even have computers when I built a website, but they said I was lazy. If I had known how far ahead of my time I was, I'd have bought every one-word domain there was and just kept them all, right? But now
sold them back for big profit, probably.
Talk to me, Rob. That's exactly what but I listened to people who back then their mentality was, if you didn't leave the house, you were lazy. Right. But then technology had to change, because computers were huge. Printers were huge. Back then, no one had a printer at home. We were faxing everything. To have a fax machine at your house was unheard of. And now when you look at the majority of successful people, upper management people, the majority of them will work from home. Right. So if we have the ability to work from home with our families, then we can spend more time together. So as a society, as a people, all we're doing is remembering that family is the most important thing. So we can use technology and we can use AI to do things that it would take us hours to do. My show, which I love, being able to speak to people and business owners and giving them some type of insight and giving them some type of reading. I've been doing shows since 2009. I've never been able to do a show like this, but I use a lot of AI for what I do. The AI writes my show descriptions. It handles all of my emails. It goes through, it writes the emails in my voice, saves it as a draft. All I do is go through, boop, 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 boop. Okay, maybe let me change that word. I shouldn't say that to Rod. He's a nice guy. Fix it, send it, and then it goes out, right? But technology frees our time to get back to what's most important. And I think that's like a culture shock for many people. But when you look at other countries, if you've ever went to Mexico, they always take time for a siesta, for family. Go down to Malta, they, shut down. We have to understand that
Italy does that too.
Yes.
Italy does that.
Right. And we're just America, and America's mindset has always been the most important thing is the almighty dollar. That's it. But until we realize that God and family means so much more, then we'll get all the money we need for the family.
Yeah. You made a comment that you were ahead of your time when you
Yes.
wrote the website. And actually, you were ahead of your time in several areas because when you were told that you were lazy because you wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, that has gone through its negative tone.
Yes.
But it's now back, and people are realizing how hard it is to raise a family and to have those dynamics where you're involved in your you can give birth to a child and parent them, or you can raise them. Right. So if you're raising them, you're going to have a better generation. And that's hard work. I mean, it's not easy to be a stay-at-home mom. My son is a stay-at-home dad. I was a stay-at-home dad. Now I could do that because I had back surgery and I was in sales, so I had to work.
We don't want all of that.
From home. Huh?
I said we don't want everybody to have back surgery.
Yeah, I went a little extreme, but it was what it was. But I raised my boys, and growing up, I was at every sport, almost every practice, and we became really good friends. And now they do shows with me, and my granddaughter does the show with me, and that at the end of the day, when the sun's going down on your days. You look back and you never wish you worked more. You always wish you spent more time with your family. So you're ahead of who you are in so many different ways. I don't want to get off where we are. We have several more questions in this, but sure enough, Ronalda, the friend of the show, she kicked in here and she gave me a little, when I was talking about businesses in prisons. Read what she says here.
I want you to read. I want the words to come out your mouth.
Prisons make clothes to ceramics and more. Now she's in. She's. I don't think she's ever lived in California, so that kind of erodes my question and what others. But she lives in the East Coast, South Carolina now. She lived in Colorado. She's actually from here in Oklahoma. So she's standing next to you and bumping me out giving me a little nudge in the side here. Fairly done. So I wanted to give you a props here that, as I said before, our audience is not only dedicated, but they're extremely intelligent. What advice would you, Todd Martin. If I'm not mistaken, it looks like him. I used to work with him in my machinery business. He was a customer. He ran several plants. What advice would you give someone feeling lost right now?
What advice would I give someone? It's a great question. I like that question. I love questions like that. The ones that are the ones I don't like are when people are like, how do I make more money? I'm like, okay, well, let's focus, right? Like, someone who is feeling lost, the first thing that I would definitely tell them is to meditate, right? Meditate. That's it. Meditate, right? And don't think that you have to spend a lifetime on a pillow or it has to look a particular way. Meditation, this is what I believe, the world according to Sharifah Hardie. Prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening to God, right? So all you have to do is just sit and be quiet and listen. And if you sit and be quiet and listen, you will hear him, right? And he will show you the way to forward for whatever you want to do. But again, I believe, and this is the God that I serve, and I can only speak for myself, is that God wants to give you the desires of your heart. I don't believe he would give you a desire of your heart without a way to bring to manifest that desire. So when you sit and you're quiet and you listen, all of a sudden things will come to you, things that you want to do, things that you've thought about, things that have motivated you, right? So that's what it says. He was lost and now he's found. But if you're lost, where is it that you want to go? Where is it that you're trying to get to? Where is it that you are trying to go, right? So often there's something that we want to do, but we're like, oh, I can't do it because, or people will laugh at me, or I'm too old, or I'm too young, or I'm too black, or I'm too white, or it's always a two for why you can't do what you want to do. So I help people through the process of getting to where they want to go. But my question for Todd would be, where do you want to go? If you lost, where are you trying to get back home? Where do you want to go?
That is awesome. The the fact of prayer is speaking to God, and meditation is listening to God. Do you hear that, folks? I mean, seriously, take a minute, and as I like to say, hover on that for a minute, everybody out there. Meditation is listening to God, and when you're listening to God, you're getting the direction of where to go, how to go, and that's coming into you and into your being, and then you have to act upon it, right?
Yes,
Once you act
do.
upon it, then you start, right?
And you can't do it wrong. You can't listen wrong. You know, if you hear whatever you hear, I can hear Rod talking. I'm not listening wrong. If you're speaking, I can hear you. I do some of my best meditation at the gym. That's where I consider my meditation. I get up, I go to the gym, I put my AirPods on, tune out to the world, and I just listen. I just quiet. I put on some meditation music, no words, no one speaking, but just meditate. You can do it walking. You can do it sitting. There's no wrong way to listen, right? Because again, that's what scripture says. And that's what I'm saying. When people tell me things, I always say, okay, well, that's what this person says. That's what that person says. But I stand on God's word. What does God say? And he says, ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door shall open. So if you're lost, have you asked for directions?
Wow. Yeah, and that's really a dual system there, right? You pray, and then and maybe not one right after the other, but however that works out, and then you meditate, because that's being fed into you. Ask and you shall meditate and receive, right? So that's the path. We always talk about on this show that life is not a straight line, nor should it be. I mean, you're never going to get all that you should, because like pairing up with what you just said, you can't do it wrong. You can't listen wrong. Your journey goes like this, and it's corrections and it's adjustments and it's the next level. It's never a straight line.
Right.
I love what Will says here. Will Radke, Reisky, sorry. Great video, great energy. America needs this talk, and I think he's once maybe we need this talk, or USA is pumping his arm. USA. I don't know whichever.
I love it.
You see my little flag back here?
When I was talking about Lee Greenwood, proud to be American, I just tuned into it and tapped into it. And that's the energy of it. Just the American flag, that energy. I am proud to be an American. There's so much 100%. That we can do.
Sonnet. It looks French or probably German. We have a nice little following in Germany, by the way. Another one in Switzerland.
Oh, wonderful.
And the UK. Pretty good following in Canada, of course, mostly here. But even some in Southeast Asia, we get some nice hits, let's say, out there. So thank you for shining light on rebuilding the middle class with hope.
Yes.
Wonderful. I appreciate that comment. And Ronaldo, I knew she was a Muslim. She was a Muslim for 5 years and know the Quran back to front. How do you explain the peace to the radical side of the religion? That's a tough question. We're alluding into that, or leaning into that a little bit. There is a radical side. There's a radical side of the Jewish religion. There's a radical side of things. I think right now, a great number, at least of who you see, a great number of Islam has taken the reading of the Quran in its most extreme form.
Mhm.
I think a larger number than in other religions. I may or may not be right about that. I'm just
Mhm.
hearing what I'm hearing,
Mhm.
and it's a big topic right now. But
Mhm.
how do you settle that in your own mind? Because I
It-
can't speak to that. I can only observe it, but
mhm.
I'd like to know more.
Yes, you can speak to it. We can all have our opinions. The only way that I can speak to it is that it's people. And yes, there have been very violent episodes of Christianity in all religions. Those are people. Those are
Talk about the
people
Pope.
who, yeah, violent people who conquered in the name of religion. So it's people, doing what they believe is what they were taught to do. And so when other people want power, and it's so interesting that you mentioned the movie 300. That is one of my all-time favorite
I love that
movies.
movie.
All
Oh my
time.
God,
And if
yes.
you, because I see, so much symbolism in life and movies, especially. But if you look at the movie 300, there's symbolism in so many different areas. But
Yes, there
two
is.
things that I always love about that movie is the humpback. If you remember the humpback in the movie, he wanted to first be on one side and they wouldn't let him be in that army. So then he went on the other side and they gave him the uniform and he became a spy for the other side. And that's again showing the human natures that everybody wants to belong. They want to be a part of something. And so if people are saying that, oh, we're in love with God or we love Allah and we want you to belong, because that's what happens. A lot of them go on social media, all different religions, and they recruit people who are lost, who want to belong, who want to be a part of, and they say, this is what we do, and we're right, and they're wrong, so it's okay for us to be able to kill them. The other thing I love about 300 is the king. He's the mighty king like you. He's a mighty king, Rod. But before he makes that fatal decision to go to war, he looks back at the queen and he gets that, I'm on your side. We in this together. So yes, it's people. That's what it comes down to. Just people.
Well, yeah, and sticking on that point for a second, when the king did that, which is he kicked the guy into the crevasse,
Yes.
or whatever you call that was, and that moment when he turned around and she gave him that look, and it was the unspoken words between them, so unspoken that even the guy that was standing in front of him did not pick up on that.
Mhm.
That's a relationship, and that's a bond between. I'm with you 100%. We don't see enough of that
Right.
in families yet today. But let's stay on this Quran thing. So yes, there have been evil people and evil reasons for things that have been pushed by religion
Yes.
throughout history. And you go back to those days, and even then, they were always asking for the hand of God, and and to win this battle, to fight this fight. Back to back to the Slavic days. I mean, it's forever.
Beginning of time.
But since the beginning of time. But since in today's world, I don't think that the religions align the same way. In other words, there's still a very active, brutal part of Islam that is forcing itself upon the world, literally the world here, and basically in all Western nations. They're forcing themselves on that and killing and threatening death to those who don't join the religion. Why is that so progressive? I'm using that word a lot today for some reason. But why is that so pronounced in the Islamic religion today, where it's not? I can't imagine any Christian preacher standing up and saying, if you're not a Christian, you're going to be killed. They're going to say you're going to go to hell.
No,
all that,
but
physically killed here.
No, that's a belief system because you're a nice man. How do you think they brought Christianity to Africa?
I'm talking about today.
They still do
I'm
the
not talking
same
about in
all
the
over.
past.
This is not just about the past. All religions are people who have created
True.
wars in the name of God. That's where we are, from Christianity to Judaism to all of
Today,
we're looking at specific places right now specific religions, but Christianity did not come about by peace.
Well, yeah, but it's been around
Well,
thousands of
yeah.
years. Well, no, it's true. I mean, there's certain aspects of certain areas that that in the name of Christianity, for instance, Africa. Well, first of all, Christianity was in Africa before it was in the Western nations. It started in Africa, actually. So that example, you know, continuing on, maybe there was, but actually Christianity was a black religion before it was ever a Western, a white religion, so to speak. I'm not saying that it's either of those, but it started in Africa, actually. And but today there's still so much.
Christianity started in Africa. It began in Africa.
It did, yes.
Okay.
I mean, look it up. It did.
Okay.
The part that I think most people.
So the children of Israel were in Africa?
Well, that's not where religion started.
Okay.
Okay. But no, they weren't. That's just across the sea. But no, I would say that Judaism has always been in the region that it is, right? That where this whole conflict between Christianity and Muslims is re-energizing itself is from that area. And of course, we have the whole war that, thank God, has just come to an end. We'll see if that continues on. But there is peace for the first time in the Middle East forever. So there's all these there's different complexities to this. But at the end of the day, right now, there is a great fear within certainly the Christian and the Jewish communities that because of the actions that Muslims are taking. So what I've told you before, Protestants and Christians, man, they in Scotland and over there, that was brutal through the 70s and 80s, maybe even a little bit into the 90s. Finally, that stopped. But my question is, why is specifically Muslim religions? Why is the Muslim movement being radicalized and staying radicalized today, where other religions I don't think are the same? In other words, they're not trying to they're trying to bring people into their religion for their own purposes. To me, there shouldn't be any religion. There should be religion, but there shouldn't be dialects. It's different interpretations of the same word. Why don't we talk about it more like we're doing now? Because it's the same thing with politics. If we talk about it more, we all understand and know where it comes from. Because really right now, it's a big belief that that's a threat in the world view, especially towards Christians. And there's a lot of anti-Semitism coming out of that, and all sorts of things. And there's different beliefs that we don't believe, like people are more accepting of things like homosexuality and there's all those arguments. But put all that aside, just that if you don't join our religion, you're an infidel, you will be killed.
Yeah, that's because
that's going on today.
Those are okay, right? Those are what some people believe. Those are what some people believe. Have you gone to mosque and find out what they believe and what they feel?
Yeah, I've stayed in Turkey and okay. I've been to a number of mosques.
Okay,
amazing. Yeah, but 80% of Muslims believe that stoning somebody to death is a justified act.
I don't believe that. I don't accept that as fact. There's no survey that has surveyed 80% of Muslims across the world. There are Muslims across the world. 80% of them do not believe that. I do not. I rebuke that number.
Okay. Well, these are just some things that people really like to chat about. What's that?
I said that people accept as fact. We put out numbers and we make statements and we just accept those blanket statements as fact.
Okay. What about Michigan, the society in the town in Michigan that says that anybody who isn't part of the Muslim religion isn't allowed to communicate or be with us, and that they all should be literally on tape, should be killed?
What you're doing,
the mayor. I'm just asking somebody, and Ronaldo brought it up, and I'm just wondering how we can kind of have a discourse that's civil and it's a very touchy and dangerous subject,
right?
But I was wondering if you had any additional thoughts on that, because you've got to see some of these differences between the different religions, especially that you're so involved and have been throughout time. And I just wanted to know if there's insights that you have on that, or if you just don't believe any of it. And it's little tiny issue in the Muslim religion, or not one at all.
If I would put my head in the sand, then I would believe that all is well. But whatever question you were going to ask about Michigan, I'm not saying that there aren't specific instances that happen, but you're also understanding that I'm a Black woman in America,
Mm-hmm.
in this system, in this society, who has enslaved people for years in the name of Christianity, who gave the slaves the Bible to read, and they did not give it to them gently. So I've answered Ronaldo's question. Is there any?
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
No, I think this is a subject we should probably. Let's see. She was born in California. I stand corrected. I didn't know that. No, I mean, there are times and spaces that we can get into deeper conversations and things, because I think there is a great deep divide in it. And you talk about healing the families, and we need, that's part of the great middle class. And there just feels like there's a separation trying to occur from one group of Americans, right? Or one group of the great middle class. And so anytime I see an opportunity to hopefully have a complete and open conversation about it that doesn't rile anybody up or insult anybody, then I'm going to try and take a stab at that. And that's
no, I understand. I mean,
there's more examples.
Yes, I understand. So when let's talk about the middle class. When you talk about the middle class, when you look at home ownership, when you look at land ownership, when you look at the successful marriage rates, when you look at education, when you look at the demographics, the list and that we go by in America, the majority of the time, African American people are at the bottom, right? So no.
What can you do that I can't do?
That's
today?
Not. I don't. That's.
And by the way, during slavery, 1.7% of all white people owned slaves. 1.7. Over 400,000 Black slave owners were Black slave owners. In Africa, Africans sold slaves to that would then go to other countries and then eventually come back here. So there's a big, huge story that we don't ever talk about in that aspect. But there's more to that. And understanding, yes.
That wasn't my question.
300 years ago.
Yes, right. But yes, I understand. But remember, I'm a Republican. I sit in rooms with people and have these conversations all day. So I'm not talking about where it started. I'm talking, the question that was on the table is when you break down wealth, right? As far as the demographics, as far as the people in America today, where it comes, as far as the racial aspect of it, that's what I'm saying. When you look at home ownership, when you look at education, those areas that I'm referring to, business ownership, That's what I'm referring to. I'm not talking about 200, 300 years ago. I'm talking about 2025.
I got one for you. Let's go back, let's see, 1940s. So what would that be? Almost 100 years, 80 years ago or so. So the 40s and 50s, Black America was actually much more successful than it is today. In other words, people in they had the Black stock exchange. There was more wealthy people in those communities than in white communities. Until certain things happened in between those, including less men being in the household. You talk about families. There's a lot of reasons why those numbers match up. You look at groups that have had issues. I mean, we literally enslaved and took all their possessions away back in what was it, World War II. The Japanese, they're the Asian population is the most successful and most educated in this country and had the most issues in this country. Well, a lot. Look at the Jewish
that is open to debate as far as who had the most. So what I'm doing is, since we want to bring up numbers and we want to look at specific numbers, I'm going back to the original statement that I made, is when you look at those numbers in 2025.
So what you're saying is that today there's still an issue in the results of Black communities having success that has to do with the system within the United States that's current today, or is it within their own communities and within their own households that are causing those issues?
They all work together.
They work together?
They all work together. They all go together. They all play a part.
Okay. That I can't argue with you on, but it also goes defiantly against what the evidence is. I mean, back in the 40s, 70% of men were in the households. Today, it's like 25 in those communities. And that's where the issues come from. There's not that family bond. There's that other group that's raising those children versus the ones within the household. And I think that creates issues that go far beyond whatever there's claims of systemic racism in all of this. But yet today, there's not a single thing that I can do that you can't. And that goes across the populations.
Right. Yeah. But that's one of those, that wasn't the issue that was on the table. Right. One of the things I talked about earlier was, again, the prison system, right? Here in California, and again, I can only speak for California, Governor Newsom made it legal in 2023 to jaywalk in California. One of the reasons that was given for making it legal to jaywalk was that jaywalking has historically been used as a reason for police officers to stop Black and brown people in California.
I got busted for jaywalking in California.
Yes.
Before.
Yes.
And I'm not.
But now, if you go there in 2025, you can jaywalk away, Rod. You can jaywalk to your heart.
I think that's stupid, but yeah, because it's done. I mean, there's certain situations that it makes sense, small county road or whatever. But I see people running across the middle of the street, and it's dangerous because cars are 2,000-pound missiles, man.
Right.
Whatever he did that for, I get it. So you're saying people were thrown in prison for jaywalking in the past if they were Black?
The reason that was given by Governor Newsom, who is not Black. I don't know if people know, your listeners know who Governor Newsom is, but he's not a Black man. But
I'm sure everybody knows who Governor.
There's a little sarcasm in that, Rod. It was just
there is. Have you seen the news?
Yes.
There is a lot of sarcasm in there. And for the first time, more people are moving out of California than moving in. First time.
Absolutely. For the first time in history, because of how California is at this point. Mm-hmm. The insurance companies are moving out of California. When we had the wildfires,
regulation.
when we had the wildfires, there were many people, and some of them I know personally. This is not something that I heard or a story somebody told me. These are people that I know. After the wildfires, when they attempted to contact their insurance company, all they received was a voicemail, a recording that said that that company no longer offers insurance in California. They were left to their own devices. So yes, people are moving out of California. I understand that.
Because of the insurance companies, then, not the $7 a
The
gallon
cost
gas.
of living, the cost of living, the
Yeah.
cost of living in California.
Yeah, it's kind of a tragedy. It's the 7th largest economy in the world, and it's what is it, $2 billion in debt or something like that. And there's a lot of fix that needs to be done,
Yes.
not only there but other states as well. The Quran is read from back to front. That wasn't a mistake. Oh, I didn't even catch that before.
Yeah,
That's right. She's right. It is read from back to front too. Rod, your guest is search wonderful open mind and it has great. Hey, listen, you could read that one. That one's good. She's beating me up today.
Who's beating you up? I'm beating you up.
No,
she was beating me up. She
no. What she say there?
Yeah,
she said your
this is
guest
cleaning
has-
it up, but beating it up is there's a reason of why the Quran is read to back and front, and not all Qurans are read to from back to front. I have 3.
Why is it? Why is it?
Yeah, let's ask Ronaldo. There's a it's her belief system. We're dealing with what Ronaldo believes that it's inherent.
Well, no. I don't think she said that. She was asking the question how do you distill from the peaceful side of Islam and the radical side. Okay. And I think that's where the conversation, unfortunately, could have been, it could have been more developed. Yeah. Because there is a real concern of how does people and people have the right to know because there's an issue, but there's a peaceful side of Islam. Mm-hmm. And there's this radical side of Islam, and it seems to be a much bigger side than you were portraying, but it may not be.
When you make those statements, is you're accepting that as fact. When you say things like there's a real concern and there's a bigger side and 80% believe in stones, those are statements, right? I am not here to just take everything as fact. And we've discussed this, and I've graciously asked us to move forward from this topic. And yet somehow we keep returning back to this same topic that is not getting us anywhere.
True. It's not. It could, but unfortunately it's not. I'm just going to, last question on this. And really, we can we're at an hour or almost 2 hours, hour and 40 minutes, which is awesome. But I'm curious, and if this doesn't offend you, I hope it doesn't. Why is it some of them read from back to front? It's just a curiosity. I've heard that before, and I don't know. And there's nothing threatening in that question, I hope.
Not from you, but I've seen ones, right? They're just the main reason. Again, I was raised Muslim until I got married and left the house. So this is what I studied for years. I did Ramadan for years, reading the Quran, the entire thing, right? I have done that. The main reason why, if anyone asks me now, oh, well, Sharifah, what is your religion? What do you practice? And I tell them I'm spiritual, because when I was born, I wasn't born people put those labels on it. I believe that there is God. I believe in God, and that's what my focus is. But one of my biggest issues with Al-Islam was the fact that everything had to be in Arabic. Everything had to be there were certain aspects of it. So there are certain things within al-Islam that some people practice, some people do, not everyone does. All Qurans are not made to read back to front. In the beginning of the Quran, it starts with the same thing that the Bible does, which is the story of creation, when God made man, right? And so it wasn't what I read in the Quran, it was that people felt like you have to speak in Arabic. And my thought process was, if I'm speaking in Arabic, which is not a language I speak, and I'm not speaking in my native tongue, then I'm not speaking to God from my heart, right? And I know for a fact that God, that he's not a God that can only speak one language, right? So
Sure.
if I speak to him in English, which is from my heart, from my emotions, from what I feel, which is my native tongue, again, I know he hears me.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that. Again, is there a purpose going from the back? I mean, is that a bad question? Is that like the radical side? Is that why you're? It's just a question. Why? How do you read from back to front, or what's the purpose of that? I'm just curious.
It's not the radical side, because we want to see radical. We want me to say that it's
No.
But when you put words out there, is that the radical side? Oh yeah, well I heard on this show that the radical people are the ones who read from back to front. It's the way certain people, when they created the Qurans, the words start at the back. So since they start at the back, so they don't consider it back to front. Everything is on your perception, right? So for them, it's the way they read it. So for them,
so just certain Qurans are produced that way. They're written that way.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's all. I just never. I wonder why they did that. It's part of what. Is it or is it not?
It's the way they create it. It has nothing to do with being radical.
No, I didn't say it does. I'm just.
No, I answered your question. I just answered your question.
I get it. Okay. So aside from the discussions that circling around Islam and the Quran, I think we had a lot of good productive discussion here, and a lot of productive information passed out, and really a really great example of what's needed to continue the journey of rebuilding the great middle class. And that really starts not only from the inside out, but from inside the family out as well. And so any final thoughts on this, Sharifah? It's another great show. We didn't hit the 600 area mark, but we hit just under 600 at the high. And I appreciate everything that you've spoken about. Any last thoughts?
I thank you for the opportunity to be a guest on your show.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to put you in the green room, and I'm going to close her up for the day.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, that took a big left turn, and sometimes they do. It happens, and and that's the thing we're trying to accomplish here. And I told you yesterday, somebody didn't want to come on and talk about different thoughts and different concepts, and unfortunately there's still a lot of things that we were raised with need to be fleshed out, and in some of the raising that has been taught through and to us throughout time brings on a certain thought process, and then at times you want to hold on to those thoughts, even though for whatever reason you want to hold on to those thoughts. I'm no different than anybody else, and that's why I started this show. One of the very big reasons I started this show is to be able to have discussions and chats with people, because I knew I didn't know everything. I nowhere near everything, and I knew that wow, we got all the way down to 40 people, and now we jumped up to 125. That's an interesting twist, but and I'm going to take more and more risks now, because I think it's fair that we ask questions to people, and they're coming on and having peace with us and wanting our time and your time, and they have oh, somebody just see somebody, oh, we've got 2 comments coming off here. I missed one of them. Sharifah's there. I'm missing one somewhere. Huh. It shows a couple of comments coming off Facebook. Jerry Yuko. See if I can find Jerry here. Did I miss his? Appreciate you being here, Jerry. I don't see your comment though. But anyway, I hope we can have these kind of discussions more in the future without, and they're touchy. I want to talk about politics. I want to talk about religion. I want to talk about things that are important to people and drive people in today's world and in today's society. It's is it time yet? I believe it is. As Sharifah said, people are healing and the world is changing, and it's time to make that next step, and that people are communicating. Look, I feel this way. Yeah, but I feel this way. Okay, so let's start there. Fair enough. That's awesome. Okay, what and I go into these subjects with curiosity. I don't want to teach you something. I want to get from you real information. Sometimes that involves bringing up a statistic that some people aren't necessarily going to be comfortable with, just like I wouldn't be comfortable with a certain set of subjects or a question that comes back to me. I get it. So hopefully in time I'll be able to get deeper into some of these conversations. The easy ones are talking about building up the great middle class. Well, then goes all the way to the difficult questions of, why do you think this is happening? And if it's about something that they may not be on the popular belief of that subject, it could be personal or it could be touchy. And so that's why I always want to ask questions with a curiosity. And sometimes that even still blows back on you. I thought that we did get a little bit into that. And Ronalda, I bring up your last point here. Your guest has search, a wonderful open mind, and great information. And that's true. And I wish we could have been able to dig a little deeper on 2 of those subjects. And we're back up to 133 people. I don't know. Should I try and go on to 2 hours here and see if I can have a little bit more activity going on? But no, that's all right. I think that was got to be a little bit of a ball buster show, so to speak. But I think we had a nice conversation. Tomorrow, I'll get into that's the wrap up of the week, and we had a really good full week, another one. Then there'll be a preview for tomorrow's, Saturday's show with Emma Lynn and Grandpa Rod, as well as Simon Hiltzfeld, and I'm really looking forward to that. And then next week on Monday is Simon and I do the Regeneration School project. And then on Tuesday, Brandon and I do AI and business hacks. I'm going to have to put some schedules together on that stuff. Wednesday, I think we have, where's my schedule here? Fortunately, I don't have it open on this screen. Let me go here. I'll pull it up on camera 4 here in a second. Give me a second to go over what's coming up. I think it's good to have. That's great. You know what? Let me just open up this window, open up my Calendarly. There it is. And here. And this will be a nice little meetings. Go to camera 4. Right here we have, so today is currently Sharifah. Appreciate your time and her being here. On Friday is the wrap up. Saturday is the Emma Lynn and Grandpa Rod. Monday here it is. Sorry, is Adrian and Caldwell, and that's the Broken, the author. I did a preview of that show about 2 weeks ago. I'm really excited about that. All surrounding mental health, family, really bad upbringing, really tough family situation. Then Brandon, as I said, is Monday. Dr. Douglas Estrada, we're doing Ronaldo, if you're still listening, that he rescheduled that show. You know, I did the preview yesterday, I believe it was. And so because of some technical issues he was having, the stem cell research and all the things we went over last week. And then we have Super Julie Braun and Gloria Vanderhorst. These are both conversations on mental health, and Gloria is also, well, I shouldn't group her in with mental health. We're talking about finding water in regions that need water, and oil spill cleanups, and and global, not global warming, but the global effects of the earth and our relationship with that. And I could go on, but Simon, Brandon, Barbara Weissman, that's going to be an awesome show. But we're booked all the way through the coming time. I'm hoping to be able to spend some time with my granddaughter on her 2nd birthday here coming up at the end of this month. And that's it. I'm Rod Duff. I'm your host. We're here on Insights and Straight Draw. Back to front. That was not a mistake. And love you all for being here. Really do, and appreciate all the insights and all the advice and all the conversations, and appreciate you. Please subscribe and join us here. We're on a mission to get to 10,000 subscribers, and I'm Rod Duff. I'm your host, and this is Insights and Straight Talk, and I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.